Hi. I'm Larry the Vatican II Guy, and this evening we welcome back Sarah, the backward pre-conciliar conservative who doesn't understand how Pope Benedict is turning back the clock and trying to destroy Vatican II.
Excuse me.
As everyone knows, the big fat jolly Pope John the 23rd opened the doors of the Church at Vatican II, so that everyone can follow their conscience, drink the wine, and finally participate in the liturgy of the Church by doing the readings and giving out Holy Communion.
Are you that stupid naturally? Or do you have to practice at it?
The mean and nasty Pope Benedict XVI, who is German just like Hitler, is trying to turn back the clock and close the doors of the Church again, so that we will no longer be able to follow our consciences, drink the wine, do the readings or give out Holy Communion. He also wants to prevent us from understanding the Mass.
Why am I here?
You are here to help me illustrate how you and your Pope are destroying the Church and fighting against the Holy Spirit which speaks to us through Vatican II.
Are you accusing me of not adhering to the decrees of the 21st Ecumenical Council?
What are you babbling about? 21st. There is only one council, Vatican II.
So what's the 2 stand for?
It's the IQ of anyone who doesn't believe in Vatican II.
Oh, I see. I had a feeling this was going to jump the tracks sooner or later.
Now, first of all, why do you reject Vatican II?
I don't. I simply maintain that you, having never read the documents of Vatican II, have no idea what really happened there. Most of the things you think come from Vatican II had nothing to do with what the Council Fathers were trying to accomplish there and—
Pardon me for stopping you, but you're preventing me from hearing the sound of my own voice. Now, as everyone knows, Vatican II was a new Pentecost.
What was wrong with the first one?
It was pre-conciliar. Vatican II was the birth of a new church. That means the old church is cancelled. Everything that happened before Vatican II is evil. Vatican II said so. For example, we all used to have to eat fish on Friday because the Vatican had a monopoly on fish and wanted to make money. Now, Vatican II tells us that we can eat meat on Friday.
It does not, you nabob.
Yes, it does. Fish on Friday is out now.
The penitential observance of abstaining from meat on certain days of the week is still the law of the Church. In some countries, it is allowed to replace that penance with another, but that doesn't mean that you ignore it altogether.
See what I mean? Words like penance and observance are not Vatican II words.
Vatican II words.
That's right. Now, today we were going to discuss how Vatican II corrected centuries of error by teaching us that we can now follow our conscience.
We were always able to follow our conscience.
Wow. You mean you are using birth control too? Welcome to the real world.
No. I'm not using artificial contraception. And Vatican II said nothing about conscience that hasn't been taught by the Church from the beginning.
Of course it did. No one ever heard the word conscience before Vatican II.
Do you mind me asking, what do you think conscience means?
It means that, if I pray about birth control, and decide that it's not a sin for me, then it's not a sin and I can do it.
And you find this new teaching where?
It's in Vatican II.
Where in Vatican II?
Years ago, when I was stupid like you and used to go to confession every month, I went to confession and told the priest that I didn't want any more children because then I couldn't afford 2 cars and it would hurt the rainforest. He told me that I can pray about it and decide it's not a sin, and that this was in Vatican II.
You used to go to confession?
Well, I still go at Christmas and Easter, but I never say anything about birth control and things like that. I just tell him I told a few lies, and took some pencils from work. Vatican II says you don't confess birth control anymore.
Oh, I see. And what, may I ask, is it that you think conscience means?
Conscience means that the Church can teach whatever it wants about right and wrong, but it's up to me to decide what's a sin for me.
I see. So, conscience is nothing more than moral relativism?
Stop using big words. Vatican II says that we are now a heart people, not a head people.
Well, you're certainly not, that's for sure. For your information, the Catholic Church defines the conscience as a faculty of the intellect that alerts us as to whether our actions are in conformity with the truth. Whether the conscience can do this is determined by whether it really knows the truth. A conscience which has been misinformed or is ignorant of the truth cannot perform its function and is therefore useless.
Is there blood coming out of my ears yet?
For example, if a Catholic priest, for whatever reason, tells someone that they may steal money from work and that this is not wrong, the person does not sin in doing it, because their conscience has been misinformed. But that does not make the act right, nor make the conscience infallible. As soon as that person becomes aware of the truth, the excuse of conscience is no longer valid, since the conscience now has a new standard by which to judge. How one feels personally about the issue at hand has absolutely nothing to do with how the conscience operates.
What do you mean how I feel has nothing to do with it? That's what conscience is. My feelings.
No, it's not. Conscience in fact has nothing at all to do with feelings. Now, if I may continue? This common stock misunderstanding about conscience is most acute when it comes to matters dealing with more personal and intimate moral questions. People who interpret conscience as how I feel about it personally will say that conscience excuses deviating from Catholic moral teaching because of the person's own personal conclusions. But this is not conscience. Conscience can only excuse such a deviation if the conscience is either ignorant of the law of God, or if it has been misinformed by Father Friendly. In such a case, the conscience is wrong through no fault of its own, and we are obliged to follow even an erroneous conscience provided that we don't know it's erroneous, and this is what is commonly mislabeled as primacy of conscience. But once the conscience has been informed as to the reality of what the Church teaches, then the excuse no longer exists, and one must now act in accord with the new standard the conscience has received.
I'm not hearing a lot of love and understand in what you're saying.
Moral theologians refer to this as invincible ignorance, that is, a conscience which is in error about the truth. It is only through invincible ignorance that a person's conscience can excuse from guilt in deviating from the moral order. A conscience that knows what the Church teaches can never be used as an excuse to do what the Church teaches is objectively wrong.
Are you telling me I can use birth control?
Well, let's see. Are you aware that the Catholic Church teaches that contraceptive intercourse is opposed to God's natural law and is objectively evil?
I know the Church teaches it. I didn't say I believed it.
But do you know what the Church teaches?
Yes.
Then no, you can't use artificial contraception without committing a mortal sin, and as long as you do so, you can't receive Holy Communion.
But the priest said I could.
The priest was wrong. You need to ignore what the priest told you, and do what the Church teaches.
No, I do not. Vatican II says that I can follow my conscience. I can use birth control, I can drink the wine, I can give out Holy Communion, I can do the readings. Missing Mass once in a while is not a sin. I can eat meat on Friday. I can.
This video was brought to you by Father Michael at Master-of-Divinity.com, and if you don't like what you hear, the Methodist Church is right down the street.